Hello everyone, this is Yana Smakula for SimonsSTM.com. Welcome back for another EP for Yana episode. In this video, I'm creating a margarita card for my gal friend using the Simon Says Stamp Taco About It stamp set. So here's a look at this stamp set. It is super cute, super adorable. It actually reminds me of my time that I spent in Arizona. We used to have tacos all the time. I still love tacos, and any chance I get, I order tacos and margarita. I'm not making a taco card, but I am making a margarita card today. I really love this stamp set. I love the images. I love the sentiments in this stamp set because you know what? These sentiments, they usually can make or break a stamp set. And the sentiments in this set are absolutely fantastic. So we have You're My Margarita or Margarita stamp set, depending if you're making a card for a girl or a guy. There's also When Life Gives You Limes, Make Margaritas. So these are the two sentiments I will be using for my card today. But you also have other sentiments in this set that work with the other taco images. You know, there's like fiesta, like there's no mañana. You're hot. Let's taco about how awesome you are. I love you more than tacos. Aren't these fantastic? Okay, enough chit chat. So here I have my Mini Misty stamping tool, and I'm stamping the images that I will be using Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I am stamping these onto Simon Says Stamp 130-pound cardstock. I love to use this paper when I plan to do Copic coloring. I actually love this paper for many different reasons, for many different techniques. But today I knew I will be cutting these images out, and whenever I cut images out, I want my die cuts to be sturdy. If I use Neenah 80-pound cardstock, I don't get that sturdiness, and I can either back that die cut up with another blank die cut, or, you know, if I'm being creative, I just use the Simon Says Stamp 130-pound cardstock because it is fantastic. Plus, I love to use it whenever I do Copic coloring. So here I've stamped the images and I've started to color them. Not doing anything fancy. I'm really just doing very simple coloring. And the colors I'm using to color the liquid inside my margarita glass are BG23 and BG11. These are not exactly the right colors because this glass, the liquid here, is a little bit too blue. But you know what? I like it this way. I like this shade. It works for me. It works for my card. So that's what I'm going with. I'm being a little bit creative here. So I'm not coloring all the way to the edge, to the black stamped edge, but I am leaving a little bit of a gap. And that creates the illusion that it's a glass. I don't know. I've seen people do this and I figured, you know what? I need to give this a try. So I did, and I quite like the way this looks. So that's what I'm going with. I didn't color the rest of the glass, meaning I could have used, you know, a C1 marker, like a light gray, or I could have used a very light, like very pale blue marker to color the glass. But I didn't. I didn't want to add any more coloring. You can also add some glitter to the top of the glass to create the look of salt on the rim of your glass. I didn't do that. I actually recently moved and I've not yet set up my craft room. I've only set it up temporarily because my craft space isn't entirely ready yet. So long story short, I don't know where my glitter is. So I didn't use glitter to create the salt on my margarita glasses, but you definitely can. Now I also have some limes, and for the limes, I used several shades of green. So I started with a YG00. Then I used YG03 for the triangle shapes of the limes, and then I used my darkest green, YG17, to color the skin of the limes green. There are coordinating dies available for this stamp set, and I used mine to cut these images out in my Platinum 6 die cutting machine. And look at these. Love them. I love the way that they turned out. Now let's talk about the lime. Now you have two limes in this stamp set, and I do have both of them here. The round lime is the one that can go on top of your glass, and in order to fit mine on top of the glass, I made a little V cut into the center of the lime. That made it a lot easier to just add the lime on top. You can just make a slit, like a little cut, but making a V cut, like a very skinny V cut, makes it a lot easier. So next I have colored cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. I'm using two shades of blue here. One of them is Audrey Blue and the other one is Sea Glass. And I'm cutting the Sea Glass at an angle just because I want to have a little bit of movement on my background. My background is going to be super simple, but by adding that diagonal cut line, I'm creating interest and I'm adding movement. Next, I'm going to stick the lighter blue onto the darker blue background. And I'm also going to use my paper trimmer and trim this down a little bit. I want this panel to be 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. So I'm trimming about a 1/4 inch from each side. Now, if you do not have colored cardstock, or if you have just one shade of colored cardstock, you can also ink blend a similar background. It's very easy to do. And if you are feeling creative, you can even ink blend a shadow on your background. So here is one background where I did do that. I was kind of, experimenting. I didn't know if I would like the way this looks, but I tried it and I actually ended up making one card with a shadow and another one without the shadow. So if you do want to create the shadow, let me quickly show you how you do this. So first of all, here I have my colored cardstock panel. I've masked the bottom part. Here I have the Spellbinders Best Ever Craft Tape. It is masking the bottom part of my panel, but you can use whatever. We're just masking a straight line here. And I'm blending the top part of the panel with blue ink, making sure to create a solid layer of color. And I'm being very heavy-handed here. Next, we're going to use the exact same ink color to add the shadow. To create the shadow, you will need the negative die cut piece. So the piece of paper from which you die cut your margarita glass. If you still have it, use it. If you don't have it, go grab it from your trash can and use it. Or, if you've tossed it and you really don't know where it is, go ahead and die cut another margarita glass and just use that to create that shadow. Now, you don't want to ink blend the bottom part of the glass. You just want to ink blend that skinny part and the skinny part that goes into the top part, and that will create a nice looking shadow for your glass. Now the shadow, of course, it's not going to look 100% realistic because it needs to be a little bit different, but for our card, it looks just fine. So now I have my panel inside my Mini Misti, and I'm just going to stamp my sentiment. I'm using VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I'm stamping "When life gives you limes, make margaritas." And with that done, we can assemble our card. So I have an A2 top folding card base. I'm adding my colored cardstock panel on top. I used foam adhesive squares there just because I love dimension. I love to pop things up, and I pop every single layer on my card. Now I also am using foam adhesive squares to pop my margarita glass on top of that, making sure it is centered and also making sure that that shadow makes sense. Now I'm adding my second sentiment. I'm overlapping the coloring on my margarita glass. That's why the coloring didn't really need to be perfect. I knew I'll be placing a sentiment over it, so I didn't really worry. I didn't work too hard on it. I've added my two lime pieces at the bottom there, and all that's left to do now is to add some embellishments. And for that, I'm using the new Starshine embellishment mix from Simon Says Stamp. I'm using the embellishment wand, and I'm adding them onto my card in a triangular fashion. So I have 3, 2, and 1, and they are forming a triangle. So I have 3 clusters, and they're forming a visual triangle around my margarita glass. I'm using my Bearly Art Glue to adhere the embellishments in place, and my card is done. So here's a look at both cards I have for you today. I first created the card on the left without the shadow, but then decided I needed to try using that shadow And here it is. Love the result. Let me know which card you like best, with the shadow or without the shadow. I would love to know. And also let me know if you've ever tried making a shadow like this. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. I appreciate it. Love you guys, and I'll see you next time.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.